welcome to FMA Talk Live. I'm your host, Datu. Tim Hartman. This is my wonderful co-host, Dr. Ty Botting. How you doing?
Hey there.
And we are joined today by a special guest, Roberto Pagan. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, sir. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate you both.
All right. So we've got a few things. We haven't been on. We took a week off because obviously Labor Day weekend we weren't going to be here. But we are back in action. We're going to be fairly consistent. Today is the 19th show of the season. Even with the sporadic schedule we've had, still 19 shows. I'm pretty pleased with that, Ty.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so today's topic is about accountability and how accountability is not persecution, and how people feel about that. And actually, Ty can talk about where this came from, because I've been using it a lot lately, but I got it from Ty, and Ty got it from somebody else, and we can just talk about how this is a whole, and then we can go on some things. But first, because Roberto is new to our show, we don't always, not everyone that's on the show is known by our network of people. So why don't we start off telling us a little about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you so much again. Thank you, Dr. Tim. Thank you, Dr. Ty, for having me on the show. It's an honor to be with amongst your presence. Yeah. So just a little about me. The martial arts community is very small. I'm a Filipino martial artist. Been starting at the age of probably at 7 years old. I started at in my neighborhood, which is the city of Carson. I was the only Latino boy practically in a Filipino neighborhood. And everybody can agree with me on that if they came to the city of Carson. And then from that moment, I had neighbors and there were Filipinos, and then I started to see movements and sticks and all. Still a little bit too young. And then my father was an avid martial artist, and then he took me because he had friends in the Kali Academy, and he took me to the Kali Academy, and I just remember walking in and I see these grown men just beat the heck out of each other, and I'm like, that's cool. And you hear the window me going pang, 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 smacking. And then from that moment on, I knew exactly where I want to go with. So then further in my age, by 8 or 9, that's when I started the IMB Academy with Guru Richard Bastille and Guru Dan Santo in the city of Carson. And then my main emphasis from there was in the ranges of, trapping, the Filipino martial arts, right, boxing and Muay Thai. Now later as I progressed, I just emphasized more at Filipino martial arts. So my background came from the JKD Kali concepts. And then from there, just went further in more and did my research into the blade system. And then that's where I ended up with the Bikini Trisha Kali. But during all that time, I dabbled in Sayak. I've dabbled in many other blade arts and Indonesian arts as well. But when I got into Bikini Trisha with Grand Tuan Leo T. Gahe Jr., I went with him and I started with him in 2008. And then I've been learning that with him, Tuan Tim, Grand Tuan Gahe, and Tuan Ramel Tortal. Those were my three of the primaries. And then from 08, I joined the military, went in airborne, and then volunteered through RIP, which is called Ranger Indoc Processing. You had to go through selection, become a part of the 75th Ranger Regiment. And I went in with 200 people. 50, only 60 graduated. I became one of the 60s, and I got assigned second battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. And then went there from there up to past 11. And then from there, I got out and then joined the reserves. And then to this day, I just went into the bodyguard industry. And then from there to the film industry and teaching actors and protecting by using what I do in the Filipino martial arts and the blade system. I'm a teacher first. Teaching is my passion. I love it. I love the culture. I made great friends, but I also made great adversaries, if you know what I mean.
A lot of that goes around. So cool. So, tell us about your school at the moment. So if at the beginning
sure.
We'll revisit this at the end as well. But
yes, absolutely.
Where do you teach? So, how would we get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can reach me. You can find me on Instagram at Mandala Rob Pagan. You can DM me. My school is here in my beautiful loft in downtown Los Angeles. It's in a private area. It's a beautiful, spacious, over 1,000 more than square feet. It's like 10-minute walk to LA Live. There's many fine dining restaurants, places and parks you can be here. But this place is special. It's a home. It's not just an ordinary dojo and well-respected commercial schools, but this is a place where I bring in to give my full 100% attention to my students, to their attributes, and then I also have a study group here as well. So if you're more than come on through, and let's learn, let's teach. But I guarantee you, if you come over here, it's a place where you can call home. And I want to bring that back like the 80s and the 90s when, when people would get off of work and they would rush to the dojo just so they can train, and then they will not leave till like after it was close to 1 in the morning because they didn't want to go back home. But that's the school. That's where I live here in downtown LA. So please come through, everybody. I appreciate you all.
Nice. Cool. All right. So let's. Oh, did I lose something? Oh, did you block out there, Ty?
Yeah, something happened with my mic and stuff, and then I just had to restart the window.
Okay, all right.
Oh, he went on a mission. He went Black Ops for a bit. Now he's back.
So, oh, there you go. So, well, let's get into this. So, first of all,
Mhm.
The title: accountability is not persecution, and so I'm a person when I see a bunch of stuff, I make comments about said things, and if something is right, if people got it right the first time, they wouldn't need to be corrected. That would one of the comments that come out a lot in my mouth. You got it right the first time, I wouldn't have to correct you. Got it. Then Ty, one day he said this. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. That's perfect. That's on point. So Ty, why don't you tell where does this come from, and then we can talk about how this applies to people.
Sure. Quick background. So the saying is, accountability is not persecution. I got it from, and I don't know if he got it from someone else, but I got it from watching more than a couple different little skits from a fitness influencer called Joey Swoll, Joey Swoll, Sowell. He's on Facebook. He what he does is a lot of times you see a lot of these TikToks and things that are making, some people at the gym are making fun of other people at the gym, or they're calling them out for things that didn't happen, things like that. And he'll react to those and say, look, that's not right. You're not supposed to film these people. Mind your own business, do better. And he gets, sometimes people jump back at him and he's like, look, accountability is not persecution. I'm not picking on any individual person, just people that are acting bad or getting things wrong and doing wrong things. So that seems to apply a lot of times. It's like, hey, sometimes if you're trying to get the truth out there, or if you're trying to get people to be better or to do better, that little bit of accountability is not evil in and of itself. In fact, it's good. So anyway, that's where I got it from. I don't know where he got it from, but catch him sometime. He's pretty funny, and I think it's good he has a gym positivity thing that he promotes.
I like that. Wow.
So and the example I like to use about not when someone gets something wrong, and this one I like to use because this was good. I think this was a good one. Dean Franco during COVID had a bunch of people on, and there's a lot of other modernists before I got in contact with him, and I'd reached out to him saying, in general, like, hey, do you have this on a podcast that I can listen to on the road? Because he had added on, he only had on YouTube. I'm like, okay. So during the conversation, he then said, hey, would you like to be on the show? I go, well, yeah, that'd be great. But I was watching all the other modernist ones because there's two reasons why I watch. One, we all have different stories, right? And so to me, it's all about modernities at the end of the day. It's all about modernities for me. And with Professor, I saw him probably more than any of his other students did, with the exception maybe some of the Filipinos, back in the islands, because I don't know. But state-wise, I made a point of seeing him as much as I did. Every time I saw him, I learned something new, which makes me wonder how many things he taught when I wasn't around that I hadn't seen before. Because there's only so much, and so I want to talk to people and get their feedback on things, and because they may have different stories and experience. I mean, actually, I know people have different stories and experience, and that's the cool thing about when we get together, when the old timers get there and we start telling Remy stories, and we have a bunch of the similar versions of the stories. Like this is a guy that would meet you once, and 6 months to a year later, you'd see him again, and he'd remember what your name was, and even what you were talking about. This guy had phenomenal recall. But then there's other things that we would talk about and such. So, but the other thing is that I always want to make sure that people got things right. I would make some comments and people would question, and then I would say, well, it happened here, talk to these people. A common thing that we would hear, and Ty, what was the phrase that you heard a lot when you did a technique or talk about an experience that somebody else wasn't around for?
I never saw that.
I never saw that. Now,
Right.
I wish to God I could, if there's one thing I wish I could go back on and change, it would be when people say these things, I would love to say, well, what do you mean by that?
Mhm.
Are you saying that, wow, I never had that experience, tell me more? Or are you saying you're full of crap? Because there's two ways that there's multiple ways and variations in between that it could be interpreted as. So, personally, I just like, verifying and stuff, and I listen to things, and I'm like, and I unfortunately, people got stories wrong at times. Now, Dean has Brian Zawolinsky on, and they're talking about the camps. Now, Brian was not at the original camps. His instructor was at the original camps because he was just a teenager. So the first camp that happened was in West Virginia. So I had the year right. He had the location right. I thought it was Virginia. It was West Virginia. He mentioned 86 or 88 in the interview. It was actually 1983. This was what started Professor on his trajectory. And, if we're talking weeks and months, I don't care. But we're talking years, that's a huge difference. If you sit there and say, well, this happened with Professor in 2001, if it was a training thing, I'd say you're full of shit, because he stopped teaching in October of 2000 because I was with him when he got diagnosed with a brain tumor, which turned to be lethal. But I was with him in Germany in the hospital when he got diagnosed. I was the only American there. When people tell stories about that whole situation, I've called them on things and go, you've got this wrong, because none of these guys were there. And people showed up later afterwards, and this happened, that happened. But, or we talk about what happened at a particular camp. Okay. There's things that if it's wrong, we gotta correct, and it's not about, I hate being wrong. Ty will tell you, I really don't like being wrong, but I would rather be corrected than not. And I'm going to use a political story. I'm not being political, and then I'm going to shout out all the people who've been calling in. So we did a Texas camp. Our friend Abel hosted it. It was a student / classmate of Ty's, and we were down there, and I made comments about Trump was in office at the moment. We talked about the detention centers down there, and I grew up in a Democratic state, and so we are told a certain agenda. So we're told, Trump did all this, and I'm like, no. Obama's the one that had these places built. Trump's situation was just, his whole thing was, if these guys are getting paid to do the job, do the damn job. So I was wrong. I was glad I was corrected. It was done in a nice, friendly way. They realized, obviously Texas, there are a lot of Republicans down there, but they're also closer to what was going on. They made the comment about this, and it was no harm, no foul. It was just it was a nice dialogue going over facts without getting all irate. Politics are the worst because they can make people visceral. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about the other religion, football. So, although we know the Bills are the best, but that's besides the point. Or as Ty will say, sports ball. But let me see here. Let's go through. So Carl Outram from Canada says hello. Hello, Carl. He's our brother from another mother. He's our Bayesian brother, which we're doing the Caribbean Martial Arts Expo in a couple weeks in Barbados.
Wow.
Antonio says hello from Virginia. Greetings, masters. Robert Small says hi there. And if any of these names ring a bell with you, Roberto, let us know. Matt Jones started without me. We always start at 8:30, so it's on you. Savage Berserker, much respect from Upland. Where's Upland?
Oh, yeah. I know him.
Okay, there you go. Matt Jones, more comments. What's today's topic? We're talking about accountability and not persecution. Mr. Hiltz is from it's Canada, it's Ontario, Deep River. I wanted to make sure I got that right. And that's like a long ass drive. And his crew came down to the birthday camp. So once again, thank you for supporting the event. Robert Small, what's the difference? We all have differences, but like he said, it's the same, baby. LOL. I mean, ready to. Here we go. Kali Dynamics.
Hey.
Remy Pracis only had a bachelor's in PE. Why was he called a professor? Okay. Let's hit that, sir. Ty, would you like to share with that particular one?
Sure. Yeah. So it's pretty common over there for former. He taught at university, and anybody teaching university, just as a gesture of respect, was called professor. So he taught our niece and helped teach in the school system and got it in the school system. So he was professor because of that. Just so everybody knows, in a lot of countries, and including actually the U.S., just because you got a doctorate does not mean you're a professor, and vice versa. Just because you're a professor does not mean you have to have a doctorate. That is not the case. But in this case, it's pretty common over there. Like I said, anybody who's teaching it at a higher education of any sort, and I think even high school counts, they'll call them professor instead of guru. It's just to make it more academic sounding, and it's just of respect. So that's my understanding. Roberto, you have any other information on that? Maybe not.
I think always he's coming in the context of as so professor's been really been used in the Western martial arts, when it comes to say Kajikembo is really heavily adopted with professor. Also in the elected systems of Aikido Jiu-Jitsu systems, like Sunusuru has been adopted as professor in there as well. I think also, don't get me wrong, but I think also within the American Kempo systems, I'm not saying specifically, but in the Kempo systems as well, right? And more. So coming from what he's talking about, I think it's coming from the context of the culture of why is from him, he's Filipino. He's like, wait, why is there, he's being called as a professor? Because in that culture, it might be a little bit different. So that's the reason why. So you're speaking from a standpoint, from a Western point of view, compared to only the knowledge what you know, but from him, like coming from a cultural bystander base, that's probably where he's coming with this at that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is over there. It's what he told me was it was that when he was teaching in the upper school systems, they called all of those instructors professor.
Okay.
So that's not from a Western.
He came to the States. That was not.
Okay.
I mean,
And professor for modern Ace has nothing to do with the rank like it does in some of these other arts that you mentioned. Yeah, I'm aware of that, plus the BJJ and whatnot. But yeah,
sure.
And to put it in context too, he created modern Ace in 1957. So this is long before all these other styles. So when we talk about stuff of this nature, just in general, you got to remember back in the day. If we talk about it now, we have plenty of social. Our phones are more powerful than the computers that they had back then. And when Professor was alive and doing things, when he first started doing Professor, I doubt they even had computers, or that country. So there wouldn't have been any of the internet. When did the public get to see the internet there, Ty, as being the?
So when I came back from Malaysia, so in the the early 80s, there was some, but it was all dial-up, so I wouldn't call it what we modernly call internet. And then AOL was somewhere around that same time, and so that was some
Well,
people's exposure to internet.
When Professor Traces passed away, there was about 20% of households had computers, which didn't necessarily mean those computers were online either. Dial-up was terribly slow. And so, but the professorship was long before this. So, and I think if you look at other countries, you talk about Latin American countries, everyone's a maestro. And it's not, you're Mikhail, oh, maestro, how are you doing? And like when I talk about my friend Ingmar Johansson, his family's from Chile. And we actually talked about that specifically. It's like, back in the day, when in certain cultures, everyone uses maestro for this, and where someone else in a different culture would use it, like if we talk in America, professor, well, if you do academia, a lot of them that I've talked to do not like when martial artists start using the educational terms such as professor and stuff of that nature.
Right, because I understand because coming from a PhD, if you're a PhD, you're a professor.
No.
No?
No. I taught at university. I was a PhD. I am a PhD. I was a professor before that. But if I were not teaching at university, I would not be professor.
Interesting. Okay.
It is not a rank. It is not a rank in of itself. It's just a title for your job.
Well, I learned. There you go. I learned something. There you go. I learned.
There we go.
Accountability is not. There you go. Accountability is not persecution. There you go.
Perfect.
I was the first. I fell right into it. There it is. Thank you for that.
Next time we'll plan a trap, but that was actually very
that was a bait trap right there. He said,
No.
But that was but ultimately though, that's why we do the show, so we can talk about this, share. Yeah. And if someone, like, one of the things that I didn't have, we talked about how Professor Traces fled the country. Well, David Foggy was very good friends, like best buds, with Roland Dantes. The piece that we had recently, in the last couple of years, I was supposed to be on a show with another modernist practitioner who eventually backed out for one reason or another. It was on Dean Franco's show, and we talked about Roland and stuff like that. And actually, David Foggy came up and said, actually, Roland was assigned to go and assassinate Remy, but they didn't know that they were good friends and he was a student. So Roland shows up, grabs him and said, let's get you out of the country. They had multiple passports. He had a personal and a diplomatic, and one of them got frozen. So the other one, him and this other guy escorted him out to the airport, got him on the plane. And, and doing the show, Remy had never told that. But I knew Roland Dantes, and I don't think he would actually say these things because he wouldn't want to be bragging. If it came up and they talked about it, that was fine. But this is why we want to have these conversations, because I want to listen to all these things, because someone might have a piece of information that I don't. And if I can, and likewise share back, it's great, and it's all good. So, all right, here we go. Let's get with Matt. What's Matt got here? Maybe Datu needs correction about his hairdo.
He's always on that.
Yeah, he's just jealous because I got better hair.
Yep.
Mike from Detroit. Hello from Detroit. And yes, go Bills. Miko Chapa. Dynamics. There was no dial-up in the 80s.
Actually, so AOL started in 85, and CompuServe started giving internet access in 1980 or even before. In addition to that, a lot of us ran bulletin board systems that provided email and internet connectivity and all sorts of stuff since in that time. So
let's okay, and just so everyone understands, literally, Ty is a super geek and a genius, literally. He worked in the tech world. He's not a super geek; he's a super guy. But he worked in the tech. He had access to technology long before many of us did. And he's a very and we've talked about stuff all the time. And
I was gonna say I was there 3,000 years ago, but that'd be a geeky thing to say.
Yeah. Although we know some people would say I was there. I mean, like, mathematically, you weren't old enough to be there, but that's okay, whatever. Just like I remember a certain Balintawak person, or someone who claimed to be Balintawak, claimed he would have trained with the Saavedra brothers, but if you do the math of his birth date, he would have been 2 years old. So when they passed away during World War II, when they were fighting the Japanese. But hey, what do I know? So once again, accountability. In that case, it may have been persecution. Here we go. Savage Berserker. It's like Maestro from Master Teacher in Spanish. Yep. Here we go. Mr. Smalls, 86 seminar, Michigan State University. He said he preferred being called professor. And I think, so he was called a professor in the Philippines. I think he preferred that title because, one, I think martial artists as a whole, a lot of people sometimes think of us that we're thugs. Two, I think instead of using Grandmaster, Professor was a lot easier, more approachable. And he really liked being with the people. He liked being interactive. It wasn't an issue of like, I am holier than thou, I walk on water and all this other. He was a man of the people. And we would take him out afterwards, and he would eat and drink like all of us. So it wasn't one of those, he wasn't a cloister monk. He wasn't all high almighty. He was a cool cat all the way around.
But he was really respected and big in the education department in the system. So I can see that very much all the way. Why you would call professor. So that's my take. Because he is, as the father modern our niece, but it started within the education system to this day, so the predecessor goes back to Grandmaster Presses, and because he developed with the education system and being growing up in more engaged in the education system, I can see why the term he used professor, which makes sense.
Let me see here. Maestro is not teacher or a master. Okay. Polywog Apocalypse. Hi, everyone. Love your videos, Datu. Thank you. Okay. Obviously, you must not do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Got an actor assigned to assassinate people. Everyone had some military or law enforcement type thing back then. There's stories about that. Stewart. Oh, yeah, Davis, Stewart, Virginia. Polywog. Here we go. Ty, why don't you grab a couple of these while I'm trying to.
Sure. Polywog says, in the West, I feel the word master is overused. Yes, often, but I don't care. Someone once said doing 1,000 Heaven 6 would master the technique. I kind of disagree. I think you can never master the guitar.
Okay, there we go. Another one.
That's why I like, if you're going to use it, I always think master instructor, right? So you're teaching teachers. Okay, great.
I kind of put master and grandmaster in my mind in the same league. I mean, we understand professionally speaking, there is we discern the difference, but to me, truly, I don't really make a big difference between master and grandmaster, because the grandmaster has mastered what we do. And I think a lot of people which, kind of part of today's topic, I think a lot of people out there are carrying rank a little, little much here, or maybe they aren't what they like to make themselves out to be. Let's put it that way. I like proving myself on the mats, not so much on the mic. And multiple times, and Ty's been to these events where, we're somewhere and all of a sudden someone, they have a 30-page bio. I say, well, then it's our turn to teach, and we both kind of do the same thing where we both step up. In my case, hi, my name is Tim. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I teach Filipino martial arts, and I sit down. And I'd rather be judged by what I do on the floor than what my credentials say. But that's another one. Let me see here.
Well,
let me see here. Tim Dobson from Canada. Hello. Apocalypse or Polywog again. I hate Dan, but I loved learning why others don't like some terms. I say call yourself whatever makes sense. But don't do that. Okay, there you go. And then what else here? I think even the term martial arts expert is a heavy weight to wear. But really, I don't mind anyone calling themselves they find it appropriate. Right. Okay. All right. And then Sheehan Allenwood. Okay, we're almost done. Hello, Datu. Okay, hey, Alan. Yeah. We just talked about Alan is in Vegas. Actually, Alan, I'm going to be there in. I was asking about that. I'm going to be there in March. Actually, going to be in Reno in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but I'm going to be in Vegas in March for an event. Maybe we can hook up there. Alan, Roberto Allen is the one who has the magazine there at Dragon Fest. He was more in the middle. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. And then master is used like trades, master plumber, master electrician, demonstrate the amount of experience. He goes, of course, awesome. There we go. Cool. Okay, now we got caught up with our comments. So Tom, why don't you take over and then ask our guests some things here while I'm trying to catch
Sure. Well, actually, did you pass over the one from Matt about the college degree?
Let me go back. Matt Jones.
Yep.
This one right here?
Yeah.
I go for it.
I didn't see that one, but I did want to say something about it.
Okay.
So that's I've heard that before, that a lot of times people think a black belt is equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm an academic, right? And I'm a martial artist. So maybe I've got some background. But I can tell you it takes about 2,000 hours, just under 2,000 hours of in classroom training, let alone what you're doing outside classroom, to get a bachelor's. And that's if you've had, all your grade school beforehand. To get a black belt in generic karate is somewhere around 500 classroom hours. So 1/4 the time. And when you just come into karate to get your black belt, you might not have had any training whatsoever. So you didn't have your grade school and you didn't have your high school and things like that. So to me, black belt feels like maybe high school. And then, if you're going to go up to a bachelor's, that might be 3rd degree or something like that. But that's my take on it, given, time of exposure, time of expertise, background material. But you can't really compare it, right? Because there's academic knowledge and understanding versus skills, and maybe even teaching skills, and history and culture. That's academic knowledge. So there's some bleed over and there's some comparison. But I think since you're talking skills, a large part of it, how long does it take to be a master juggler? As long as it takes. Maybe you can get it in a week. I took me a summer once to teach someone how to juggle 3 balls. It taught the same thing I was teaching someone else. They got it in a day, and it took them a whole summer to get 4 balls. So it's completely different. But anyway, that's my rant on that. But I wanted to jump into that. Roberto, you were nodding? Did you want to say something?
I kind of agree to your testament, what you're saying. I think that the whole thing is that how this martial arts today in this in this century, how a black belt it's been this thing, and this comes from also from interviews and people from other instructors saying, oh, it's equivalent to a 4 years, and here's the thing about this is, for you, is you can have a black belt, but having a black belt is just, like I said in my videos, it's just an information of catalog that was just been passed down to you. It's just an information, but that doesn't mean it's not a mastery of the system. It's just something you attain your black belt, you have the information, right? That's how it gets passed down, right? You just keeps passed down from generation to generation. However, that does not mean the system, understand the system. Okay, and that's where the real training starts beginning. That's where the real hard work starts going, which is the research. You want to prove the system. You prove the system to fail. I want to fail this as much as I can, right? To know what can work and what's applicable, and its applications, its principles, and its philosophies. So I hear what you're saying to the gentleman in the black belt to the 4 years. But that's because it was spoken to you before. You heard from others, but you don't really know the process of the journey. It's after you start, when you get to the black belt. That's what really it begins more than anything. And believe it or not, a lot of people will not even make it. So they'll attain the black belt, but then they will stop.
Right.
And that's it. So I don't know.
So they'll just get their ABCs and then they'll walk out of school and they won't be able to do anything.
Right.
Yep.
Because then it becomes, now you have to write your all your theories, and you got to write your thesis, you got to prove it and all that, right? But what happened is that because they learn from the information from a teacher, okay, and then next thing you know, they become codependent on that information, of that technique. Remember, this is information. This is to carry down. It's called persevering, right? But again, it's not the truth, if you know what I mean, right? It's just one of these things where you're just going to have to get through that.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that makes any sense for you guys, but that's just my 2 1
Yeah,
2
no, I
3.
like it. Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's better stated than I was saying. Actually, though, maybe that tails into, what I was going to ask next, which is, Roberto, so I know you said that the saying, accountability is not persecution resonates with you. I was wondering, given that we were just talking about some of these things that we see that people could be, held accountable to, how do you think that applies to even, some of the things we've already been talking about tonight? And I wondered, if you'd share, kind of how that, reflects on, the things that we're already talking about.
Well, I think the biggest one, as we see, of course, we're in the day of technology and the day of age, and is social media. That's a big thing. Social media influencers. I've talked about this before, and I'll stay on that one, and we'll go into the next one on that one. But because we're coming into a day of age, right, and we have teachers who predominantly has been just doing month to month, paying off, how they did what they did, right, how they did the advertising, and then it gets to this point now where new ages of audience are not pursuing the yellow pages anymore and not getting in the car and driving down to the school to check it out, right? So the issue is that the social media influence has become very, very smart. They're bright, they're intellect and everything, and they're really educated, and they're really good putting good context and content together. Yet the thing is, they know where to hit in popularity and statistics, and how to hit these to the instructors and to students, and they can make great of what they do. And but reality, they never actually went through the journey of, like you said, in those hours. How many hours is that, sir, Dr. Type, if you get to a black belt? Like you said, 1,000.
It's, if it took you 3 to 10 years, it's usually about 500 hours of classroom, in class.
That's 500 hours. You will not see a social media person will not go through 500 hours.
No.
Okay, you won't. Okay,
Right.
now if you're really good and do what you do. So what happens is people become desperate of now, right, for their businesses, which I totally understand. Okay, and then you have these days people, students don't want to work hard, right? But the crazy thing about it is that what is hard, because they never did anything hard before, you know. So now you got great social media influencers making amazing martial arts content, things like that. What to say, what to teach. They'll use their brilliance and make this verbiage of everything, right? And another thing too, people wants to be seen, right? So that's another thing. Like, oh, can you get me on this? Can you get me on that? Right?
Mhm.
And then I'm like, okay, and then, but it's always it's an offer. It's a give or take, give back. Okay, if I bring you on the show, what can you get for me?
Mhm.
Right? It's a winner. It's a win-win, take or take. So what happens is a lot of students starts compromising their integrity and their values to do a quick shortcut just to get to something they just need right away, instead of going through going through the hard work and building what they're missing. More important than anything is your discipline, right? You're building your discipline. You're also
Mhm.
developing your character and building your character. You're building persistence and resiliency. All of these things to attain to come in and get in and go to work. And because of that, people has just pretty much got, vanity is a big deal, I guess, and they want to come in. And then so social media influencers know what to target by statistics and everything, what to say. And then they'll make a content, they make cool stuff and cool packages. Hey, this is what I can give you. And they never put in 500 hours. They've been with some couple instructors, they interview with them, and then they let them do a little bit of this. I spent a little bit of hours of this. I went to this instructor, and having all these accesses, right? And be with it here, right? And then they'll use that as their statistics and as their facts, right? And say, I learned this from this. And they can practice all they want, but they're not really the actual, like, they're not teachers. They're entertainers. So these are the things that are what's happening in today in martial arts. The social content creation is a great tool for martial arts instructors, right? And I say to all martial arts instructors, you're doing fine. Keep doing what you're doing, you know, but there is no genie in the bottle to get a social media person who has never had any training whatsoever, right? And thinking that you're going to get 1,000 students in retention, which you're not. You're going to get, because it's really all up to you. You got to do the work in creating your content, creating editing tools, finding all these things, right? And just try to help build your, build your own. But that's where the accountability comes in to place. So that's one of them, of this apples.
Let's get some things come up here real quick here, because we got a lot of bunch of things. So Alan talked about his magazine, and it is a shameless plug, but we'll talk about it.
It's all good.
International Martial Art Magazine. Actually, it's a shameless plug, not so much, because an opportunity. He actually, I'm going to do this shameless plug. He actually asked me to write for the magazine, so
Sure.
I want to see how this goes. See if he puts up with my style of writing. Everybody sucks out there. Oh, hey, you're getting views. Okay, so there's the shameless plug. Okay, I was chatting with a live streamer in the Philippines, and she said that she liked the word arnis most out of Eskrima Kali. I like all three. Well, it is the arnis bill. I will say that. So, and that being said, Professor's system was a form of Eskrima, and because of taking advice from his wife, she was the one that said you should use arnis because no one else is using it. We've already talked about Kali a couple times. It is an adopted term in the Philippines. It's not a native term for a Filipino martial art, and that's after we've talked to historians on this.
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines, Filipino historians from the Philippines,
exactly.
Kali means to dig. Kalis, where the word allegedly came from by some people saying, means to scrape, like when you're scraping off, when you do a cup of flour and scrape off the top of that is kalis. And but we go there. Okay. Athletic practice in years have an equivalent of academic study, in my opinion.
Yep.
It took me a total of 7 years to get my first done. Okay. Juggling is hard though. I can't do it. I have problems with juggling. I can juggle for very short periods of time. I can do it. Doing it well, that's another story.
Can I add something to this? I'm sorry, gentlemen. Another thing too is I think it's just someone in the comment like, hey, however they want to call themselves, if that's what they want to call them, identifying masters, gurus, whatever, okay. But that's a price to be made, and there's a consequence to that, okay? So if you're at a guru level, you better be moving like a guru. And if you're like at a certain age, say you're 25 and you did FMA in the system for 3 years, now you're a guru. You better move like a guru. And when the more you get higher, you're in this age, still in the prime, and now you're a professor. Well, you better be moving like a professor now. You should be moving like a guru. Because if you look like, excuse my language, gentlemen, if you look like ass, okay, you're full of it, dude. That's the bottom line, dude. And how you teach and how you move in and how you engage, and you're a professor, and you're, how old are you, brother? And you're like, oh, I'm 35. I'm like, wait, when did you start in the system? Oh, I started when I was 30 years old. Wait a minute. So 30. You're 35 and you're professor, and you move like straight like a ham sandwich, bro. You know, you gotta, you don't have clean lines. Your execution profession, you the way you're moving, the way you're moving your stick, the way you're moving your blade, the way your empty hands are, the way you punch, the way you kick, the way you do your traps and you coming in, right? You could see you're trying to remember and trying to do the same mimic of motion, right? When you haven't even scraped the surface at all. So it behooves you, gentlemen and ladies, that if you want to say you call yourself a grandmaster and you're not 65, excuse me, gentlemen, with your, I'm just saying, I mean, because there's people in their 60s and up, right? Oh, yeah, you get injuries, you have bad back, lower backs, you're gonna have things like that. You can't move like you were 20 years old. You can't move like you're 30. And this is something like Guru Dan will talk about. But it's your age and your wisdom and the what you speak of, how you teach it, right? So that plays into the benefactor, right? And also you make the system work for you when you get to a certain age. But however, if you're a young buck and you're a professor and you've been doing this for 5+ years, or you're a grandmaster, and again, cameras don't lie, videos don't lie. You know, so I'm just saying. So
Hmm.
you better back it up.
You know, part of, and this is one we can talk about a little, is that we didn't want to go into is, I mean, part of accountability. You know, if we're talking about, so the reason why I was asking Roberto on there, he had a video. He talked about, he was not by name, but he's calling people out
Uh-huh.
because in okay, so he's Roberto was in the military, so it's it's a shame that there is a thing. There's a term. Was it stealing valor? Is that the
Yeah,
right term there?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's sad that a lot of people pretend to be in the military, or they make their career more exciting than it actually was.
Yeah.
But you know what? The martial artists do the same thing, and maybe by words, or maybe just to let people. There's two. We've seen this. There's some people that they won't talk about
Mm-hmm.
themselves. But if someone was to say, "Oh, you guys did this," you know, you did all this stuff, he goes, "Well, that they." If someone gives me credit for something that I didn't do, I'm the first one to say, "No, no, 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 that wasn't me. That was so and so." Blah blah blah.
That's correct. Right.
Some people, they don't lie about their involvement, but they also don't correct people about their involvement either.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
we've seen that quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
And this is the stuff that, when we can talk about things like, okay, when Remy was diagnosed, I was the only American there. I went back to the States and I said, we got to get Remy out of the hospital in Germany. He offered me rank, and before somebody comes over and starts taking rank and advantage of his emotional status, we need to get him out of here. Okay, so what happened? A couple Americans came over, and lo and behold, rank was given out. They did get Remy out of Germany, but rank was given out. And a lot of people like to talk about how things went, but it's like, you weren't there, you were this, you were that. I mean, and like I said, I've talked about it. I don't go crazy about it,
Mhm.
but if the topic comes up, I'm not afraid of discussing it, because
Sure. Sure.
like the military, there's a bunch of people that steal valor, whether it be military, law enforcement. You can see it in a lot of industries. You can say in the martial arts. There's
Oh yeah. Oh, the martial arts is a big deal. Is a
you know,
big one. You know, they
I-
say I did this or done that, and
yeah.
well, I caught one person who I took a lot of before I put him out there. Right, I want to give the other person, he knew that person, to give benefit of the doubt, and I said, hey, look, and he's in our community, and I said, and I told this guy because he knows him, and I want to get at him. I said, hey, look, this dude's claiming he's a 75th Ranger. But I'm sorry, he's got all these berets and the rank's all wrong and stuff like that. And if you don't fix it, I'm going to put it on the group chat called the Brotherhoods of the Scrolls, which is all Rangers present in there, 75th, and and they're going to dig them up, and then it's going to get bad, you know. So sure enough, he talked to that person, and he took it down. He took a lot of things down, right? I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go out there and maybe like just say, hey, what are you doing, everything. But yes, we do have a lot of look, hear me out, gentlemen and women. If you're in the service and you serve as a mechanic, a cook, and everything like that, great. Use that. Put it on there. You know, it's okay. You did your time. Yeah, you might went to coast. I don't know. Maybe you went to some combat, saw some things, but you were in boots on ground. But it doesn't matter. You serve your country. You got the uniform on. You went through service. A lot of people won't go through services and everything like that. And I think it's a beautiful thing to show that you went in. I understand in this medium in martial arts, like it's been so Hollywood out there, right? They're like, oh, special forces, Army Ranger, Navy SEALs, oh, martial artists and everything, right? And you think that's gonna give you more social status, but then what happens is it's gonna come right back to you, and it's gonna hurt your reputation, your career, because people are going to find out it's a small community. So just be honest and just be like, hey man, I'm a proud service member. I did this, fantastic. I think that's the way to go. But all men, women, please do not impersonate as Rangers if you're wearing the Ranger Battalion. Now, if you went to Ranger school and went to Ranger school, that means you're in the Ranger Battalion. You know, you say you went to Naval Special Warfare, but you were a supporter of Naval Special Warfare. Say that, okay? But don't say you were in the teams. You know, or say I was in the ODA. Oh, what did you with the ODA? Oh, I was in the ODA. I supported them. Wait. No, that's different. You supported the ODA. You weren't ODA.
Anyone that serves has the potential of seeing action one way or another.
Sure.
Mechanics get deployed to support the troops.
Oh,
Cooks
the 88 mites,
deployed.
dude. The 88 mites, the transportation guy. Oh man, those guys have seen a lot.
I mean, and a position can get run over. You could be in an area that's safe theoretically, but shit goes sideways. I mean, and so anyone who signs up has a potential of being deployed. And what they're basically saying is they're willing to potentially sacrifice their lives for the safety of their country. Hats off to them, no matter what.
Yeah,
even if they were a pencil pusher and they never got to see
100%.
action. When they signed that paperwork, they didn't know where they were going to end up for the most part.
100%. But again, these are men and women who runs a business or have their own social media, and they're just trying to use social status to get retention. It's not going to get you retention. I'll tell you what's going to get you retention. Your skill sets, who you are, like how you move. And if the people, eyes don't lie, they don't. But really, it's you as a person that's going to sell the character. Just you. Boom. Because when they first meet you, they have no idea who you are. They only know as a guy with a belt and the gi.
Yep.
Right?
I think this accountability that used to be it's not a new idea at all, right? This has been going on forever, right? Dojo storming, the self-policing, all of that good stuff, and I think accountability, the other side of accountability, is that being right the first time. If you're precise about what you did and what you are and what you're saying, there's no need to lie, because maybe everything that you did is certainly valid and worth something. And be confident about that, and don't make up things. But if you're precise and clear about what you're bringing to the table, then I think you're ahead of the game and won't need to be accounted for.
You nailed it right there, precise. And that's the thing here is we talk about this all the time, and I am overly precise with my words because I've had people who've taken everything. I would write something up and someone would isolate one sentence so they can take it out of context. So I am OCD when it comes to this. I'm also just OCD. And a lot of times when I'm telling a story, I go into too many of the details versus just the general. But once again, I've had people to help eliminate people calling bullshit on things. I talk about all the factors. Hey, these guys were there. This happened here, blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing here is people are so freaking sloppy with their words. Oh, professor would do this, professor would do that. Well, how would you know? You never met him. Or you were just a child when you met him. You never trained, you never picked up a stick. And I've got people tell me about modern arnis that, we talked about I just did a post the other day. Somebody was making claims that professor was saying that modern arnis is superior to Balintawak because Balintawak has no live hand. Which
no what? Oh, really?
No live hand. Now, if you do the grouping methodology through that Villiason made famous and Bobby Tabuada teaches, the grouping number one has got a name, or he gives it a name. It's called lifting and clearing. Now, unless you're using some Jedi mind trick, that means you're using your hand. Balintawak live hand is amazing when it's taught properly. And I thought I had a live hand with Remy. And Remy opened the door for me to do Balintawak with Tenbua. And it supercharged my live hand. And the thing is, when someone tries to sit there, the other thing is Professor created modern arnis to beat Balintawak. Bullshit. He loved Balintawak. But the thing here is, he had his own personal fighting style, which he didn't share with many people. To beat everybody. It wasn't. He was an equal opportunity fighter. But I asked him once when I got me in the Balintawak, I go, Remy, could you take Anshan? Not even thinking, no way. I'm like, And this is a guy that, like, everyone told me he had cojones made of brass, that he would just sit there and say he's going to tell you with the most ridiculous technique, and he's going to do it because he's so confident. He's going to do that Billy Jack shit. I'm putting this foot upside your head. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. That's who Remy Prices was. Not that he'd kick you in the head, although he could. Shocked the hell out of me when he did it. But that's the kind of guy that Remy was, with that kind of confidence. And he's sitting there telling me, he couldn't take Ganshon. And he goes, if you want to be a real stick fighter, do this. I'm like, I thought I was becoming a real stick fighter. So there was all these different things, but we are far behind here. So let's do this here. Ty, I'm going to click on these here for you.
I'll read it. So from Shihan Alan Woodman, Sosai Masoyama received his black belt in karate from Funakoshi in 5 years. It took me 12. It's all dependent on the individual training. I think some people can automatically connect. Others take more time. Yep, like I said about the juggling. Matt, after earning my black belt, started to feel unworthy of such an honor, and I don't know shit. Yep, I still feel that way. Polywog. Some martial arts retreats will say they'll teach you a master, but any 2 choices of kung fu styles and weapons in 2 weeks. Wow. Okay.
Did you go to that class, Ty? Was that how you got your kung fu master?
Nope. It's something about since 80 or so I've been doing kung fu. Let's see. So Matt Jones. Since I began studying Shaolin Kempo, that system took me 7 years to master the basics, movements of that style of system. Right. Just the basics. Yep. And it's important. It's good. It's a great accomplishment, but it's just the start.
I believe what you just said right there, Dr. Ty, is just a start, because at the end of the day, yeah, you can take a skill set within 5 years, but would you rather invest in a person, their skill set, or their character? Who are they? Right? So they may be good with their skill set, but their immaturity they're very immature. In here and in here.
And the depth too of it. Is it in there?
And everything. So movements. Yes, you can do, but that's not really the whole point of the skill set. And just you're also developing what? Because your teacher is really, it's up to you based on your teacher. For me, I want to see not just the loyalty, I want to see your character. I want to see if you're going to break out of character. I want to see if you're going to be the person that you're going to lie, cheat, steal. You're the ones going to start spreading rumors and everything like that. And next thing you know, it's kind of like you have the responsibility as a teacher, like, hey, you know what? You need to go, and it's just one of those things that we have to take accountability. It's not just also skill set, but it's also I'm putting trust and faith into this person representing me. Yep. That's a big responsibility.
So good. Yeah. Polywog likes tracking hours. We talked about, actually, Ty and I went through that a couple times. We tried to figure out when people said I train with Remy a lot. Really? Let's do the math. I want to learn self-defense. That's good. If that's your focal point, and that's the whole thing too, is a lot of people get the whole martial art. That's a catch-all. I just did one of my social posts the other day was about people saying you can't have a self-defense school. Why can't you? Why can't you focus on that? First of all, martial arts schools as a whole should be teaching you how to move. But why can't you focus on more scenario-based situations versus dueling in a ring? Why can't we? We've got, one of the problems with Filipino martial arts, and I want to say, yes, we have problems. All systems have problems. But one of our problems is that sometimes we are too much in the mindset of doing historical combat, not modern day combat. When was the last time you saw 2 people walking down the street with talibongs strapped to their back? I look at a lot of the stuff that we do as skill development, and I think there's a huge value to all of that. That being said, when we're coming to protect ourselves, I think we have to, if we're not focusing on any type of open hand combatives, how much self-protection are we really teaching these days?
Very true. I think a lot of it has to do with nowadays people teaching when you're speaking at Datu about I'm not going to 2 talibongs in the back, but I think of say men in their 30s who are having that kind of an attitude, saying that is because it's not just about FMA, but you're also preserving the culture as well. But like I said, the weapons are the extension of the hands, right?
Mhm.
So FMA is a rich in culture when it comes to these different mediums of ranges of combat. The question is that if that person understands why we have the double stakes or single stake, single, and how does that translate to self-defense, And I think a lot of it's because a lot of it's been misinterpreted, misconstructed, misguided, and they or just don't know how to translate that to like in their mindset, like, wait a minute, this isn't making sense. Why do we have to do Sinawali? Why do we have to do Sombrado? That's just dumb. That's not going to prepare us to the street. So with that kind of mindset, they just it's so conditioned right now. They cannot, open the fathom to see what the richness can transfer all that technology into the empty hands of self-defense.
Now, I will say this: self-defense is relevant based on where you are in the world as well. I mean, so
True.
if you are in the States, we're going to be very maybe pocket knife or impact weapons such as bats, clubs, stuff of that nature. If you're in more South America, Caribbean area as well, very much. If there's a very large agricultural portion
Yeah.
of the environment, don't be surprised if there's a lot of blades and big blades.
All
You
right.
might see machetes and stuff. I remember teaching in Barbados the second time, and
Mhm.
I'm doing a seminar. We're doing grabbing the stick, and the girl goes, "Well, what if it's a cutlass?" I'm like, "What the hell is this? Pirates of the Caribbean?" And for those who don't know, yes, Barbados is in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cutlass, it was a machete, but that's the term they use. And I'm like, and because sugarcane's a huge part of their economy, they're kind of constantly in the fields chopping things up, and people are walking around with big blades. A lot of workers have access to those. And so it's like, oh, wow, I never really thought of that because different country, different culture, different things. So,
Yeah, that's a
um,
really interesting. That's a good point there, Datu, because a lot of schools actually I haven't seen anything about environmental awareness. That's a really
you
good
know,
one.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
there's martial art, there's martial sport, there's martial combat. What are we
Mhm.
practicing? And listen, there's nothing wrong with any of those.
No.
The other three is fitness, form, and function. You have some people who are there for fitness, and part of that fitness is also the mental fitness, and maybe they're just doing it for social interaction
Mhm.
and it's a hobby for them. And I mean,
Sure.
like the difference between Krav Maga in the States versus Krav Maga
Mhm.
in Israel. Here, people aren't worried about getting bombed. I mean, they might. I mean, depending on the area, but for the most part, people are not worrying about being invaded. We're doing it as just something in our spare time. So,
Yeah.
so everything's relevant to what we're doing. But let's get caught up here. So, Alan agrees with. I'm going to say he agrees with me 100% because I need that. It might be with you guys, but I'm going to take it because those who control the system gets to take the credit. Here we go. This is from Dirty Boxing. I have I have came across instructors in my time, and my question for you guys is, what is your guys' thoughts on someone who says they're a grandmaster but can't promote you? They can't promote you.
Oh man, that's a very common. I heard that. I heard one that says, "I can't promote you because I can't teach the system." A lot of these are what you call these are called scapegoats, right? So
Mhm, mhm.
what can the student do? Question the teacher. Then the teacher will come back there and like, what? You don't trust me? And then next thing you know, they start freaking gaslighting the crap out of the student. You know.
Wow.
So to your answer to your question, if that person said that to you, that man is lying.
Mhm.
Um,
Sorry. That
so
once someone says that I cannot promote you, like what he just said, I'm sorry. Anyone can promote.
Mhm,
Anybody can promote. If you're a grandmaster, you can promote. You
mhm.
know. Then why are you teaching it? Why are you teaching the system?
I would love to hear why they can't promote because
Oh, it's good.
unfortunately, to be fair,
Uh-huh.
we only know the information that he's sharing with us. Now, we
Sure.
weren't. What's the context of the comment? What's the context of the
Sure.
question? Listen, here's speaking of grandmasters who might not be grandmaster. This goes to the other thing. Let's see if we got the right context here. So I heard there was a person that's claiming to be a grandmaster in our art, and people talked about curriculum, and this person had to talk to his peers about what the curriculum should be. I'm like, if you're a freaking grandmaster, I can go off the top of my head. Listen, what do we teach in the art? We start with the fundamentals. So your basic punching, kicking, blocks. All right. And with the sticks, it would be the angles of attack, corresponding blocks. Our signature material, which would be our block check counter, which can go from block check counter to striking styles as a follow-up.
Sure.
Or we can go on obstruction rule, which is another subsystem of that. If you look at the advanced tappy, it is your block check counter done at a higher level, and the timing changes and stuff of that nature.
That's correct.
It's got the block field. We can go through all these things. I can talk about the forms. I can talk about the disarms, the counter disarms, all the stuff that we have. I don't need to confirm with anyone to tell people what my art is like because, well, I've done it. Professor taught me well. So if this person is saying stuff of that nature and something, how can you tell if someone's legit? Well, what you have to do is vet, and this goes, this is part of what's going on here. We have to, what I don't want to do is call people out and saying this guy's illegit, that's guy, because now it just becomes name calling and there's really nothing. But the thing here is you should be able to research the person.
There you go.
And listen, here's the thing. If when you talk about student-teacher relationship, you're paying for a service. And part of that service is education. I would be asking all these questions before I signed up. I'm like, like in the States, you're going to join up. There's going to be some kind of agreement. People are like, I don't want to sign a contract. You know what, dude? That's just the way it is. It's just the way people do. They have some kind of, people do. I mean, like we do a year program. You sign an agreement to make your payments. I don't want to sign a contract. Fine, pay in full. And if you pay in full, I'll give you a better discount. So, but what if I don't want to walk away? Well, okay. Or if I want to walk away, if you really, really want to just pay as you go, I've got a couple different options, but they're a hell of a lot more expensive. One of which is I charge $189 a month for my area. Like normally it's $159 with an agreement, but if you're just going to do a little, because I don't really want to disrupt my class for people who are just looky-loos, because when I've had people, when it comes to the summer, we do a summer program and someone says, well, we're leaving at the end of summer, like we're going elsewhere in the country. Like, I'd rather not have you sign up. Is the money good? If I get 30 people coming in, you give me $100 a head for a summer program, okay, that's $3,000. But what does that $3,000 cost me? I'd rather sometimes go, see you later, because I don't want how that disrupts things. But the thing here is, as I go down the rabbit hole, we need to ask questions and talk to people, and that's a two-way conversation. If they aren't, no one created shit. We take material and we put what we were taught together.
You just answered. I was about to answer on that. You just said it right now.
Oh, I read your mind.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Go for it.
Well, first of all, you can't make somebody. That's one. So there's no making. Okay, it's like what he said. You got to research. Do the research. The truth is out there and everything, and all. And then lastly, 100%. Everything from a curriculum from up was a student who took notes. That's all it is. It's a student who took notes, and I don't know, make it be 1, 2, 3. They came together. Hey, put mine, put yours. Boom. Give it to the teacher. Hey, what do you think? Okay, that's good. But he didn't look at it. He just said, that's good. Because in those days there was no curriculum. That they were the source. They are the curriculum. So they teach from here and out. With their hands, and then talk through here. So you're all like, right, as we all do. Right. Well, I don't know. There's no taking anymore because they go on their laptop and chat GPT and all that. But back in those days, there was no film project recording, nothing like that. So everything was all handwritten. So all the stuff that they was learning was way before that was handwritten, and they put in the curriculum, and then teachers blessed it off, and then the rest is history from there. And then it just keeps on, and it just somehow gets lost in translation.
Yeah, I mean, so I tell them the closest thing I say that I made something up. I mean, and not to say we don't have our own innovations, but my innovations come from somebody else's teachings, right?
Sure.
So I've got my own drills I've created, based off of the material my teacher taught me. So if I didn't have that, I couldn't put these things together. What I tell people is I am the architect of my curriculum, but all my curriculum is material that my predecessors have taught me. So Pollywog says he's learning so much from us. That's so good. Shannon Allen, your teacher was a friend of my teacher. Oh yeah. Oh yes, Praesus and Astilia. I loved him a lot. He was a cool guy too. And Rich Parsons says hello from Detroit, or no, Flint, an hour north of Detroit. Robert Small, 51 years. How should I move?
That's up to you.
Yeah, well, yeah. One foot
Well,
at a time.
don't do, with all due respect, don't do anything with like if I'm moving, I do it like I'll swing real fast. Don't do that because you might tore a back or something. So just because I move, that doesn't mean you move like the way I move. You know your own body than better than anything. But if you're at that age, I recommend don't do that. You're gonna throw out your arm. So only go what you know you're comfortable and your own physiology. That's all I can tell you. But you're not gonna move like a 25 or a 30-year-old weapon that hitting that bag hard or or kicking it hard, or how. But the way it works, the secret to this, I'll tell you this, is that you learn the system, but then you have to make the system work for you. Okay, so meaning if you look at the teacher and he has a perfect cutting line, you may not might not able to do that, but you can make it work for you, and it's only for you. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think ultimately a lot of us have the longer you're in, the more beat up you're going to get, but it doesn't necessarily mean it comes from the art. Like most of my injuries, car accidents. It has nothing to do with my martial arts.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you should be able to see. The thing is, you should be able to move better than when you started. And even if you're banged up, you should be able to see more directness of what you're doing with intent.
Yes.
So let's get caught up here. Pollywog, I won't call myself an FMA student unless I've put the dojo time in. Even the word student means something. That's important because, like, calling out somebody. I'm calling somebody out. I'm not going to use his name, but because y'all know who it is. No, you probably don't. But I did Balloons Walk with Ted Buat. Okay. I know someone who did a weekend training camp or a weekend training. So what we had to do is go for a weekend with him at his, go to his house. That's where he taught. He did 6 hours. And then that was the boot camp that you did, and that's 6 hours of privates throughout the weekend total. And then you would train. Well, this one person who, I'm part of the family. I did all this. I did all that. You saw it twice, and like, listen, if someone joined your school, this person had a school one time. If someone joined your school and did a 1 month trial, would you then say that they know everything about your system? No. Well, that's basically what this guy did. Oh, but I'm better than everyone else. Okay, sure you are. Whatever.
So 1 month is when I would have my students test for for white belt.
There you go.
White sash or white belt
really
after
good.
1 month.
Ooh, ham sandwiches suck, according to Rich. Okay. Same happens in martial arts. Good. Okay, Pollywog, I study knife throwing.
Oh,
what
cool.
type of knives do you like for throwing? Throwing styles you do. So I did throw knives. It's got to be a knife with some weight to it. Some of the throwing knives that they're putting out there these days are way too light. I like something that's going to stick, and more important. Okay, I'm not throwing knives like I'm throwing darts. I'm throwing knives to cause damage, and I wouldn't throw a knife unless they're running away from me. But what do you guys think? How do either of you throw knives?
I mean, I throw knives, but I'm not an expertise in knives. That's there's projectiles in the FMA systems for the knives, but like that has never been my full attention to the throwing knives. It's fun as a hobby to do it, but
I think it's fun.
as used for specific self-defense, no, I have not do anything with projectile knives.
I also do archery, but I don't use that for self-defense. That's well, actually, I'm just saying. Listen, for the record,
Excuse
when the
me, combat
apocalypse comes,
tactics and warfare. How about that? Very
when
nice. There you go.
when the apocalypse come, I'm basically Negan. Just so you guys know where we're at. So if either of you are Rick, don't invade my base because it's not going to end nice. There you go. I really take it really takes a mature martial artist, someone who has developed their art to understand the true basics. Yeah.
Good,
The thing is, you
yeah,
can, and
yeah.
I was very fortunate. Like, I pulled all these hours, and physically, I was stepping up to everybody in the art at the time. I was passing people left and right. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. They would say, do the technique. And I didn't understand the connections or the significance. It was just, you learn by rote. Someone tells you this, boom, boom, boom. And professor would constantly talk about, it's all the same, go with the flow, da, 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 da. And there's that surface level of execution, which I could match with anybody. But it's when I started teaching is when everything started changing for me. And that's when, and that also took time. Sometimes it wasn't how many reps you pull, but how long it takes for your mind to compensate. So I'll talk about techniques being age appropriate for kids. And when I teach them, I'm like, a lot of it's not an issue of, well, you can't teach someone to take a knife and stab someone in the eye socket and do this. You got to wait to a certain age. I'm like, I get you, but that's not what I mean about age appropriate. It's like, can someone, what age does someone understand the concepts of calculus or trigonometry or even basic algebra and stuff like that? I mean, it's not something you teach a grade schooler. When I learned algebra, that was a ninth grade thing. I wouldn't have been able to figure that out in grade school, but everything in grade school got me there. So, but the thing here is, even though I was accelerated because of all the reps I was pulling, it didn't mean that I understood and had that connection. I think a lot of times misunderstand, I pulled the reps. Oh, you're right. Okay, you did pull the reps, or a time in the art is not the same thing as a time at the art. Like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. How many days a week? How many days a month? Well,
I think you need both, right? You got to do the work, and all the work that you do is certainly adds up a lot, but you also need fermentation time, and that's that maturity, and that's that growth into and interconnections that will form as you work the material and grow those. And that takes time. That doesn't take just, hey, I can do that this weekend because I'm going to put in, I'm not going to sleep. It needs to grow together viscerally.
So, Roberto, this is how our conversations go. We have a theme, and then I think sometimes we go off topic, but we have really good conversations.
We should be held accountable for that. We should be held accountable for that.
Yeah, because I think these are all very good. I mean, that's why I like the show, because we touch on so many stuff very organically.
Mm-hmm.
But let me see right now. So, what kind? That kind of reminds me of the 9 gifts of the triunity of God. Somebody does not have the charter to handle or the character to handle the gifting of God that He gave you. Your gifting will crush you. Okay. My glasses are.
That's a philosophy standpoint of view. I see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every Walmart sells machetes. Yep, it does. It does.
Or anything else. Everything's a weapon.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I don't know, but I live in downtown LA for some reason, man. This is new, but machete attacks is becoming a thing over here.
Oh, wow.
It's becoming a thing in downtown LA, machete attacks.
Well,
Yes.
It's not a controlled tool.
No, it's not. And I actually walked by a person who had a blunt machete, and you can see him trying to sharpen it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what a machete is supposed to do. It's supposed to only partially cut it and rip things up at the roots.
No,
But
these are people here that just
want to make it sharp. Yeah,
the sharpen. They just want to go and attack and just go crazy. Attack an innocent bystander.
Okay, that might be when you want to carry that have one of your own. It was funny when I went down to Texas the one year. They go, "Hey, Datu, they passed the law. Now what? You can now walk around with a sword strapped to your back. Really? Is that something you want to do, Datu? Well, let me ask you a question. what, are firearms still legal here? Yeah, hell no. Hell no. Because I'd rather have one of them instead. Thank you guys for middle in the middle. Okay, thanks you guys. Thank the guy in the middle. Provoked a memory. Okay, there you go. The guy in the middle is Roberto. It says right there on his name. But no problem, Matt.
That's right.
Yeah, what's his name? Let me see here. I can't remember it. What's this?
Provoke the memory. Oh, so this, I didn't see who's the gentleman.
That's Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. Thank you guys for provoke. Oh.
Okay, so here we go. Kali, what does that mean? Move like a guru.
Okay. So he's speaking on the context of the term guru, right? And so let me just clarify on here. So I'm speaking from a Western point of view. So because guru means teacher, but does it say that is there a set of standards that there has to be of what a guru should look like and move like, right? So what I'm saying is that from a Western point of view, a guru, right? Because the way it's been graded in the grading system, when you're a guru, you're the teacher, right? And you should be like good and moving and with speed, swiftness, agility, moving and all that. So when I say move like a guru, it's because if a person is within 5 years and he's a guru right now, but he's moving like, I don't know, like a turtle or something, like an octopus, right? But here's the thing. I think it's coming at. But what if he can't move the way, but his teachings, the way he breaks it down, he's a very methodical thinking person. I can see from that point of view. So there's the physical aspects of it, and then there's also the mental aspects of what he's coming to. So I don't know if that's where he's coming from in that perspective, where he's coming with that. But again, you got to have the both though. So, okay, if you want to have to be a teacher, you can be the teacher, yes, and you can be an astounding at teaching. But at the same time, you also have to have both at the physical, because if I just move like this and like this is the way the angle one moves. I'm being over exaggeration on this, but if they just move very clumsy and they're trying to think and move right, but they're speaking with the information they're giving is gold. Like, oh wow, they're like really right. But is that what it looked like? So it has to go hand in hand. So yeah, if I say when move like girl, you better move good. You gotta move good, but also teach it as well. There's a standard. Everything has a standard to a ranking. Your profession or what you do and your maturity grows, and how you move within the ranks. I say it again, man. And you'll see, and I know you've seen it all. I've seen it when people are guru as professors, and I'm like, that's a professor? How they move? Really? I'm like, I don't know. And then again, we went back to this in the previous conversation by age, right? Now, if I see, again, a senior, right? And he may not move good, but you can see it. You can see that he's still got it, and he teaches beautiful. Does that make sense? So to answer his question, it's kind of both. It goes both. And if he's speaking from a culture point of view, I can understand that too, where he's coming with that as well. But it means teacher. Just you're a teacher. Okay. So again, but there is expectations. There is a responsibility to earn the name of the title of guru.
My thing here is this, as long as everyone's not trying to fool themselves and be honest with others. I've seen people who are, I'm working on some things with WeCAF because I'm one of its directors right now. One of the things I was going to recommend is that right now, a lot of times it's directors automatically become the tournament directors as well. I don't know if that's such a good thing, because I know some people who are better at certain aspects of things. I've met people who are much better teachers than they are practitioners.
That's
and
correct.
They've been able to coach people.
Yeah.
So, I'm less about how, it all depends on how the person sells themselves. There's things like my students, my goal is, and like a lot of my kids, they kick so much better than me. and I got some issues. We talked about age and injuries and stuff of that nature. But the thing here is, the goal is to. I would look at a couple things. If I would look at the person, I would also look at their students. If they got good students, if the students are moving well, that should say a lot of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, they just cannot. The guy who do well, one of the guys that brought it back to Buffalo, actually, he was very awkward with his movement. But then again, maybe he's moving good based on how he started.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, he was able to produce students that were better martial artists than himself. So I mean, there's a lot of value to that. I mean, you don't see a lot of these sports coaches. You don't see them jumping and flipping through the air, but they have their athletes doing that for them. So Well, let me see. Accountability.
Great question, by the way. Wait, what did you say? Wait, go back. He said something. He said,
well, this is first he started. What does the move like?
Then he said accountability.
And he's smiling. There we go. So back to Kali Dynamics. It's also sad that people call themselves traditional chieftain or war title or lord titles.
Yeah.
You're not talking about me.
He talked to Tiger.
For the record, I don't call myself anything. If that was what you're saying, I know there's people out there who are doing things of this nature. Myself, all the titles that I use were awarded to me by Professor Braces. I don't. I never self-appointed myself any rank or anything, and just in case that's what you're. I don't think Kali Dynamics is doing that, but just in case. But I do know people who have self-appointed themselves some interesting titles out there. So, preach Datu. Thank you, Polywog. How many deployments did you have as a ranger?
2 deployments.
All right. And then Eric from Portland popped in. Hey, gents. Portland, Oregon. Savage Berserker. I think that's where accountability comes in, even at the person who is teaching their own curriculum as well. I feel like it's on both sides. Yep. Let me see. Boom. You make it your own. Polywog. Sounds like Dr. Tim, like rotation and spin throwing knives. Well, okay. Sounds like Datu Tim, like rotation and no spin throwing techniques. I do like a half spin. It goes about a half rotation, Boom. Most knife throwers thrown for no thrown for self-defense situation are hard. Mostly thrown for sport. Martial applications. Yep. I actually like it more for exercise. Like, I also throw tomahawks, hatchets, and I'll throw with both hands. I'm not good with my left. I'm functional with my left. But the whole idea is, like if you're going to be a pitcher, you probably just holistically, you'd want to work with the muscles on both sides of your body. So I would think, throwing with both hands would help even out the body that way. But let me see here. It is also it also is when your brain is ready to understand the concepts. Yep. Savage Berserker. Ooh, okay. Most FMA people have never carried one Talibong in the field. Yeah, no, I don't care where the field. It's always in my luggage though.
By the way, does anyone know who Kali Dynamics is? Do you know, Tim? Do you know?
I don't know.
He's up. Okay, so he's also a historian as well. He's Filipino. He's a historian. He's also a high education. He works in the education system here in Los Angeles, California. I have talked with him on many occasions when it comes to research, when it comes to critical debating, the negative, the whole everything. So he's coming from this because of the titles, his accountability history. So I love it where he's going with it. But other than that, yeah, he's a Filipino and he's a fantastic historian when it comes to this. He's not meant for everyone.
Yeah, I just found his profile on Yeah, it doesn't.
So
actually only
and Filipino martial arts, I hear he said about the brain, and personally for me, I think in martial arts and just in general, you just gotta have a very methodical thinking. It's a very method thinking process of how you when it comes to understanding within the system, you know, especially Filipino martial arts. The Filipino martial arts is a very, very methodical thinking. We have to have approach to it, and if you don't have that methodical thinking approach, it can be a little bit difficult, but it can be fun.
All right. Most of them I'll never. Okay. And Berserker puts the love sign, and then okay. Dr. Tim, check out Full Tang Clan is hosting a big knife throwing
Nice.
event. The 19th to the 21st. Check out Danger Fest 2025. I'll have to look that up.
The what?
Danger Fest. I'm gonna see where that is. Where is Danger Fest? Just wondering what part of the world it is. It looks like it's in Indiana. Yep, Indiana. It's a weekend of our instructor development camp. So, as usual, there's always something going on at the same time. But it looks like it could be cool.
What do you think about those who were in the FMA industry and kind of excommunicado, and then they come back, but they refresh and rebranded what they teach, and they say it's a style and it came from a certain part of the continent of the world, but actually it's FMA.
Well, I saw. I remember when Unique Publications came out.
Oh yeah,
and there was the Zulu stick fighting program in there,
yeah,
and I watched it, and they were doing some Brada drill, and then somebody actually told me that they were modernized people at one time. So I don't know how factual that is because it's all secondhand information, but I watched the video and I'm like, so they're wearing traditional garb,
right.
and they're doing their thing. I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, I think that's a little too coincidental that it looks like some Brada drill.
Right. But you can't call it out, right? Because they're wearing the traditional garb. And if you did that, then they're going to say, oh, you're a prejudiced.
Well, it never lasted, so it was no big deal. You know, I see a lot of people like I've seen a lot of people come and go. You know,
Yeah.
My mindset has always been steady. Keep steady, moving forward.
You know what? I found this another real new thing in accountability. Is you talk about give credibility where count is due, give where count is due, the predecessors and everything, right?
Mhm.
And I noticed that a lot of, and I totally understand where they're coming from this in this perspective, but at the same time, some of the stuff is a little bit outlandish. I'm like, man, you're gonna get these people, right? But like I've seen systems from the person studying FMA for 17 years, and then they create this thing, a prison street fighting knife system, right, with Spanish terms that came from the from the from the jail cells, right? Which I'm like, what? You know, like, or it comes from the loteria, like a Mexican bingo game, right? They use that, right? And they use all these cards and totally capitalizing on the whole thing and branding on that, right? And then they make you, and the thing is, you have to, I say you have to, but everything in the martial art has to have a story, right? You got to have a metaphysical story to it, you know, like the background. For example, like you hear about the blind princess, right? I'm not gonna get into that, but you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the blind princess in the Philippines, right? And how that person learned from that, and that person learned from that and brought it down, right? So it's just like legends, like Wing Chun is a legends. And then I noticed that then there's ones with moving with elbows, and they're saying it came from the gypsy mines in somewhere in the Spanish colony, and then they're this. But then when you look at it, I'm like, no, that's FMA, or that's, you know. But it's interesting how, like, my question to this: can you, as a person, live as a human being to be accountable to your own, to say and live a lie like that? You know what I mean? And just like, and you teach these things and that are not even true to its base, but you know it comes from FMA roots, in which, and the reason why a lot of people do that too is because they don't want nothing to be connected to with an FMA or with an organization or anything like that, so they create their own, right?
Well, they do that. I guess it separates them from accountability, right? You do that on purpose so you can divorce
Yeah.
yourself from that connection. So now there's nothing
Right.
to hold you to a standard to, and now you can do your own whatever you want.
Yeah. Oof. Look at that when you said that. I was like, dang. You
And
know?
if you're doing whatever you want and it's no good, that's a horrible thing. I will tell you, I actually run across a group, and I just thought it was a bunch of bubbas in a state. I go to their school, and they actually move really, really well with really good mechanics and
Yeah.
really good material, and really good connections to where they got it from. But it was a guy who synthesized from whatever, and it was Bubba Foo. But the conversation was such that none of this was hidden. It was just his synthesis. And it's like, oh, okay, I believe it. It works. I can see it with my eyes because, like you said, the eyes don't lie. And if you have some training, you can see goodness, and sometimes in surprising places, which is good.
Yeah.
It's also you see badness in surprising places too.
Yeah.
We have a saying. I started the saying. There are PhDs and there are PhDs. We have a saying. We transferred it. Everything. So there's PhDs and PhDs. There's black belts and there's black belts. There's masters and masters. I mean, every field has this problem about are they a real enough deal, right? And where do you draw the line, and where do you call it from? And at some point, right, somebody recognized them for that, or they said it enough times and people didn't stop them, which is the same kind of thing when push comes to shove.
Yeah.
So how do you bridge that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed too, I've seen a lot of things where the person started running out of material, and then they start fabricating material, and then next thing you know, they'll put it.
It goes spiraling off into la la land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
it's
the weird thing.
interesting.
How much innovation is good and how much innovation is now it's fantasy. It's a little. I always err on the side of caution because that's just my nature.
That's the reason why when you use the term concepts, be careful with that, or freedom of expression. You have to be careful with that too as well, because I think it's been taken so out of context, and they think like, oh, I can create all that. Like, no. That doesn't work that way.
Right. Right. It's got to make sense. There's only so many ways the body can move good that's self-consistent, and self-supporting, in a way that lets you accomplish things. And if you don't have good biomechanics, no matter what you're doing and whatever it looks like, so even a good drunken kung fu person, right? They actually have good biomechanics. It's hard for people to see, but you can see the biomechanics there and where they're overcommitted and where they're not, if you have a good eye. But those physics doesn't lie.
No, it does not.
All right.
Hey, wow, we're actually still caught up. I think people just got bored of us trying to catch up.
Yeah. No, we're caught up. Yeah. So
that happens.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But did we actually get to the meat of the things, the connections about what we wanted to talk about with accountability? We touched upon it a lot.
Let's get the bottom line. Listen, very good organic conversation. So listen, when we talk about getting back to the theme, is accountability is not persecution. As simple as this. We will use the gotta run. All right, talk to you later. We'll talk about this real basic, okay, and how it relates to what we're doing. One, in the military, there's people who are stealing valor, which are making false claims, exaggerated claims, or completely false claims about their military experience. Okay. There's some people doing the same in the martial art world. People who are untested theoretical martial artists, hang out with people, have gotten very good at hanging out with the right people to get the visibility, but haven't done the work put in. And the thing here is you need to ask questions, ask people these tough questions. Say, well, hey, listen, how long have you been training this? What have you been going on? I mean, listen, I've been doing this for decades. I don't get insulted when someone asks me about my credentials.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I am proud of my credentials. I started with Remy. I started Modern East in 1985. Okay. In 1986, I was leaving my instructor because a couple of things, and one of which my instructor was himself was getting ready to head towards the door. Remy found out that I was going to leave. He reached out to me personally. Okay, there we go. So from there, he opened the door for me to do Balintawak, and also I put the Praces brothers back together in a they were arguing and I got them back together. Unfortunately, Remy passed away long before they could enjoy what was going on. But because of that connection, it exposed me to Ernesto Praces. I started doing Comaton as well in '99, I want to say. Um, and I was on good terms with both brothers when they passed. Remy opened the door for me to do Balintawak, got in there, started doing Kuntao and Sikron because according to Remy, they were both part modern. He pulled from modern Kuntao and Sikron is in modern Ernest. And the funny thing is when I did the Sikron class with him, 15 years later when I started, no, actually probably about 20 years later when I got into Sikron, it was the same damn lesson he taught me. And like, and I go through things. I've done this, I've done that, I've done the other thing. You find out that I've done these things. I've got nothing to be afraid of.
I think the persecution side of it comes into play. Is just people get twisted, right? So, when you're checking on anything, right? That's just a vetting process. There's nothing personal about that. I just had to go through the thing. I'm set up a thing to start teaching at the community center here. So what did they ask? They asked for my bona fides. They asked if I had insurance. They asked for a background check, all of those good things. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I've been doing stuff for decades. It doesn't matter. And in fact, actually, I thought it was a good thing that they wanted to check it because they should. And you should expect, if you're going to be out there and making claims and sharing with people and giving people ranks and stuff, you should be expect to have to deal with people, looking into, hey, is this right? Is this right enough for me? Is this why do I need to listen to you? Why do I trust that you're going to produce good people? Why is my son going to get something good from you? Waste his time or not? Those are all fine questions because people's times and interests and expenditures are valuable. And so you put yourself out there, hey, expect to be vetted. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
There is, and then there's some that just they know who you are and they just want to just test the waters.
Well, there's that too, right? Some people use it as
like
an attack.
for me, I have people in my community test me like you're never a ranger, and I'm like, all right, well, why don't you come over here and look at my D214? You sure you want to do that?
Right.
You want to see my campaign medals? You want what I'm saying?
Right.
And the irony of all this is that they're not even veterans.
Okay. So they wonder what they're looking at.
These fools are. They never went to they never signed up. That's the hypocrisy of all this is that why, as you as a martial arts, and you're in my ranking area, why do you still continue to persecute me on my military background when you hadn't even joined the military or never did anything?
Right.
I have. And I keep telling them, if you want to reach out to these guys, go ahead. And then they're gonna look at you and they're gonna laugh at you. So but it's just really interesting because I think a lot of it has to do with, and I totally get it, a lot of the men I wish I would have done that. Now they got something to hit you for it, right? To use some air laundry and to do that as a gas signing and everything, which is the most lowest self-esteem ever. Sorry.
A lot of that comes from jealousy, right? They're jealous of whatever that connection is that they don't have that they could have had.
And I'm like, sure, but that's one of the many of the factors of that you see what people will try to do to when you're climbing top to the mountain, and you're getting to that, and this is what they're going to do, but yet the thing is too is that like I'm not part of really any really big organization or associations or institutions within the martial arts community in the FMA, but those that speak of this are in with the community and in an organization, institution, association. So when people speak this way, it's because they got an organization like right behind backing them up. And then if you try and make an argument with somebody like myself, right? Then they think I'm the bad guy. He's the good guy. because it's part of the community. Isn't that crazy?
I mean,
It's
yeah,
just
no,
wild. It's wild. It's just wild that way.
the person, and sometimes it happens that, the person who's genuinely trying to look up for standards and accountability for all the good reasons becomes a bad guy just because they're asking this troublesome question, or maybe they're a troublemaker, not even a bad guy, but they, you're somehow, it's twisted.
It is, man.
It's but people are gonna people, right? Humans gonna human.
Yeah. Understood. But well, I think.
Did we run Tim off?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. Right.
I guarantee he's listening.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me, Doc?
Well, actually, first off, just Ty, and that's my name.
Okay.
Right, because you're not one of my chemistry students, right? So it's fine.
Fair. Thank God.
But also we're friends and peers, right? So it's just like it's a lot of us do that, right? We're so and so name, but if you're my formal student, then yes, you get all these things that we're going to maintain this relationship. Anyway, but no, I just wanted to make sure that I know that you resonated. I want to make sure that you had enough time to talk about how you resonated with accountability or the persecution side, or both of those. And I think you touched upon it a lot, but I just want to give you one last thing to say, hey,
Yes, sir.
one thing I was going to tie to that and I forgot to do that. So throwing it back at you.
What's that?
Oh, no, just, if there was something that you definitely specifically had in mind that you wanted to make sure was into the discussion. And so just make sure that, because a lot of times I'll go with the idea of having a talk and I'll miss the one out of five things that was the most important to me just because of the sidewaysness.
Yeah. If there was anything particular you wanted to highlight, now's
Exactly.
that
time.
Or plug, by the way.
Yeah. I think for all students out there, just like I said, keep your eyes open, and just do your research on your teachers, and other than that, just keep it open-minded. I know if you're just be careful on this, okay? Don't give too much away of what you truly want to do in the martial arts. Now, I say this because it's a trusting process, okay, with the teacher. The teacher can be, for all I care, the dude can be a pope, or I'll do it, no offense, or he could be any Christian leaders, or how you want to go with it, right? Just be careful how you express too much of your vulnerability and your values to the individual, okay? Because they'll know they know what they're going to do with you, and they know what they're going to get with you, and that's, you got to be careful with that, okay? So just keep it simple of what your achievements are. Like, hey, I want health. I do want to, stay here, keep going, right? And if the teacher is focusing on your attitude, is focusing on your character, and wants to build your character, wants to build these quality traits and values into you, that's the teacher you want to be with. But if a teacher tells you, like, okay, listen, sign here, and then we'll make you black belt in 1 year, and then I get it. I totally get it. I know what, everything like that. But you also have to watch out for that. There's good business attributes to it. All right. But you could see the guy is a very honest person when it comes to his business attributes of what he's trying to achieve for himself. Because we also have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have martial arts making this as their life's work and life's business. Okay. And that's just what comes out about life. You'll know who they are. They're the ones that are going to be like, and the first thing he wants to offer you is, we'll make you a black belt in a year. Just sign here and we'll put a deposit $5,000. I'll give you whatever to that. And then you can make this amount of months and everything. So if they can say they can promise you that, that's not the teacher you want to be with.
Right.
No, train with me. I'll do it for $4,000.
I'll do it 2 weeks over the weekend.
I do want to talk about this that Roberto just talked about. You made the comment you don't have a big organization behind you, and of course, when you have a problem with someone in that organization, the rest of their team jumps on you.
Sure.
I can actually relate to that. I'm going through this a lot, although we are the big organization. But then you have a bunch of the misfits who are now all independents, and when one person says something, the others jump on because they all want to protect their friend. And we recently going through this stuff, and it's sad that they just can't deal with facts. And we talked about an article about organizations, and one person didn't like was what said, so they try to invalidate the whole thing by attacking me, talking about how many members that are in our organization, that the DAV Dieter's organization, which the article wasn't about the organization, his organization, but it was like, oh, well, he's got 1,500 members. I'm like, great, we have more. We have.
It's always. I think it's a man thing. Sorry, I'm trying to be sexist here, but it's a man thing. It's straight tribal tech. It's straight territorial. You got to build it, get an alliance and all that and everything. Like going to be one tiger in the mountain. That's just a name. That's just a normality. It's a primal thing. And if you cannot accept that, then you shouldn't even be in this field at all. That's just
if we say Ashita Kim will be summoned if you say his name 3 times. His ninja magic will seduce your daughters and disembody your children's soul in a single touch. Wow, that is amazing, Pollywog. Nice. This is the stuff that we got to show. Now, Pollywog, I got to say, unless you're one of our guys that have just changed his profile name, you are a jewel. We want to have you around more often because I love how much you've been adding to the flavor of the conversation. But with our luck, it's probably cheese.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think it was pretty good here. Okay, Berserker, respect and love. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
He's gonna take off. Yeah.
I'll love to you all too. Okay. Well said, Polly. Yeah. So I mean, the thing here is this: people will go out of their way, and here's one of the if for people, I always stand up when people push me or push others. I'm usually one of the first ones to step up and say, "Back the hell off." If I claim something, well, actually, I don't do claims. I make statements. And then a lot of times I have to prove my statements. And then once I do, then all of a sudden everyone gets quiet and they don't want to talk about it anymore. Oh, let's take this offline. No. We brought this online. If you put yourself out in public, people are going to call you on stuff. I make comments. And this is about accountability, is not persecution. Someone who hears otherwise. So I will make a comment about I'm the highest tested black belt in modern arnis, at least by what Professor Praces was saying. People are going to cry foul on that. And then all of a sudden, I'll say, well, at this camp, this is what he said. This is the last camp he taught, the second last camp he taught in the States. Here are the people that are in the room. Here are the people that are now. So do you want to talk about this more? Nothing but crickets. But then these same people who asked me about that will make an outlandish statement. And then when I ask them to clarify or validate that, they cry foul. Listen, what's good for one side is good for all. If you put your side out there, you got to realize that sooner or later, someone's going to call you on your shit. It doesn't mean you're in the wrong.
No.
But when you put something out there, like I said, we've talked about this.
Oh, I got something way juicier than what you're about to tell you, and this is a very big number one thing. All right, well, there's all of them been great. Okay, so you have one FMA system with multiple organization, right, of the same name, led by different hierarchy that leads the infrastructure, right? Some are cool with others, some hate each other, right, and everything, right? Say you have 15,000 members, and whatever. I know that's a big number. Okay, huge for an organization, but remember,
Roberto's not saying Paquita Tertia. He never once mentioned the word Paquita Tertia, just for the record.
All right. Since you put it out there. Okay, so let's put Paquita Tertia, for example, okay?
No, you didn't have to say that.
No, let's do it. Absolutely. Because you guys have been talking about our knees, so I don't know if it's up, but let's just say for my community, Paquita Tertia, okay? So,
which
organization.
Paquita Tertia, our niece at one time, just for the record.
Oh, yeah. Oh, everybody knows that. There's no argument to that. All right, there's no debate that. But here's the thing. So everybody would join the organization, 15 plus or more, right? They pay their membership dues, they do their thing, their subscriptions and all that, right? And the next thing you know, everyone is a brother and a sister, like, yay. But here's where it gets real crazy here. When they post their stuff on video and they're moving, dude, I watch this stuff and they're not moving. It's horrible. And everyone's like, wow, beautiful flow, brother. Oh, and everything like that. When they know in the arms well, they'd be like, dude, that is bad. No one in the organization is never gonna call anybody out on in there. They
Mhm.
won't.
Mhm.
They won't do it. They won't do it. When you watch the person, they're gonna be like, "Really? That's a flow?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't look like a flow. That looks like a my I don't know what that is, you know." But nobody's correcting nobody. So here's the real question, Kelly, what you're saying. How is that helping the student? How is that helping that person to grow? You know, or even more. I might get hit for this one, but doesn't matter. Women and men, equality, equal value, how you want to call this. Okay, you see a lady moving, right, and next thing you know, they're barely moving, like with sword, and it looks wonky as ever. They do a kick, they might do a kick, looks wonky as ever. You'll
Mhm.
see people on the comment like, fantastic, that's amazing, wow, how beautiful that is. But you'll never step right. That's what
Mhm.
you'll see
Mhm.
more than anything. How is that accountability? That's no accountability.
Right.
What is that? And
I
then
think
but then men will destroy men more than
yeah.
anything, you know. But it's just like, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to support men, you know, everything like that, right? There's no accountability. But in organizations, in the same one, you'll
Right.
see a person move a flow and they move bad. They're
Yep.
going out there and everyone's saying, that's amazing, triple hundreds and all these things. I'm like, how are you helping that guy? What, you want to make his tushy? You're like, you want to give him like a little tush so you can make him feel better? Really?
Right.
You
Well, I
know
think
what I'm
it's
saying?
yeah.
It's like,
People do, they want to be encouraging. I get that, and maybe they don't want to air dirty laundry, but at some point, like you said, there's got to be accountability, and also there's got to be improvement. So maybe you don't want to in public say, "Hey, Joe Schmo that was doing that." Everybody that's not in our organization here, Joe Schmo sucks, even though it's part of our organization. That serves no purpose. But if you talk to Joe Schmo on the side, or give him some commentary and stuff like that, then maybe that's fine. But it's funny. So if you have an internal group, maybe you can still say those things. Hey, actually, you might want to work on this, and it's in the group, so now everybody can learn from it because we're all. I'm sure we're all. I know I am still making mistakes. And why do I have to only be the one that learns from them? Somebody else can learn from them too if we actually have a good
sure,
conversation.
sure. I put
Um,
it out there. I'd be like, hey man, like, if you got something, say it, put it on there. There is
mhm,
no persecution here, man.
right.
Like, tell me what it doesn't matter what rank I am. Give it up, because I might be doing something, man. I might know. Oh wow, you caught that? Damn, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. You know, and that's the thing. Like when I was in Ranger Battalion, dude, we had everybody accountable. Yo, you fucked up
Okay.
like that, straight up. But
A lot
see,
more on the
people,
line though too.
but in this, and I get it's military and it's
Yep.
not, but it should hold that same grounding principles
Right.
in the martial arts community. If you want your students or your peers to look good, then be honest.
Right.
Don't be scared because you put that on there and then you're gonna get, excommunicado by your people. And then you've been doing it for 5, 7 years and you've been pouring, I don't know how much money in, and then now you're a horrible person because you said, hey, fix your swing.
Well, I think we've
Oh, what do
lost.
you mean fix my swing? Oh,
Right.
and it just keeps going on.
I think we've, as a culture, we've lost the idea of accountability, but also in terms of responsibility, right? You have a responsibility to yourself and the material and whatever to be honest.
Right.
So I think accountability starts first with you, right? So one of the things that people could start, maybe you can't take it, but maybe you can record yourself and look at yourself and go, ooh, yeah, now I see something I got to work out. Why didn't somebody say that? But I mean, because while you're doing stuff, it's a little different than watching it.
Well, the other thing
You
too,
you
though,
can refine stuff a lot. So self accountability, and then it goes on to accountability, and it's all about responsibility and improving everybody.
Yep.
the other thing is though, what was your metric to start with? I mean, maybe these people are being serious. Maybe they weren't brought up with the same standards that others were done. So, like,
Ah,
I mean, so here's the problem with modern earnings.
Just the one problem.
Well, this is the biggest problem. Most of its practitioners do it as a secondary art, and Professor never pushed it to do it. He was beginning to get to make it more authentic, but really what he was doing was teaching you the art within your art mindset, and ended up becoming, let me make you a better martial artist by cross training, not make you a Filipino martial artist.
Right.
For the
He
most
used to
part,
always
yeah.
he used to always say he was spreading, trying to spread Filipino sport culture. right?
So
Filipino martial sport culture.
he took a lot of people and made a much better martial artist,
Yep.
but they weren't good representation of being a Filipino martial artist. But be teaching him how to flow and do all these things and see lines better, he was a good specialty coach for someone to develop skill sets. And he probably did more skill set development than he did promoting the martial art pie,
That's a really interesting one. That's a really interesting one because
if you would, and I mean, what do you think? Do you think I'm off on that one, Ty, or do you think
no,
that's kind of
I know actually, you know what you just spoke of? That's another topic right there, which you speak of. But he's really good at coaching, but then there's the Filipino martial arts culture, right? And sometimes, especially now, and this goes with anyone in the culture, right? With an Asian culture, Hispanic culture, is when you have a foreign teaching a culture of, like, say, Philippines, but he's excellent at teaching of the specific of coaching instructions of how to, right? But when it comes to terminology, historical, all these things like that, and putting in context and everything, it can be a little insulting to some others for the Filipinos. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So you like, again, you have have a responsibility to yourself. So if you say, "Hey, I'm a Filipino martial arts specialist in coaching," right? But if you don't say that and you saying to yourself, "I'm this and that, I do that," but you don't understand the culture, the history, and you're a foreigner trying to teach Filipino culture, that could be an issue. That could be a big thing, man. So
well,
it's just
yeah, and Remy
a
never
fine
wanted
line.
to.
You gotta get to be around there.
There is also a cultural aspect of Filipinos because they also don't like losing face, and they also like being nice to people. They don't want to be insulting and stuff of that nature. And a lot of times, I think professors' kindness was taken advantage of, and I don't think people realized when things were being said. He was always trying to be a nice guy. He was trying to be.
That's all the OGs, all the original OGs, GMs. They all have been taken advantage in their kindness and everything, to get to the rank, last dying breath in the bed. Here you go. They're all like, here, and in so many ways. There's, I don't, with all due respect to Professor Remy's, but he's not the only one. There's been a lot, that are not here now, that passed. I try to get that, like, hey, let me get that signature before you go. And that's real. That's real.
It
That
was
is
almost
real.
an everyday thing because people would show stuff or do stuff, and maybe it was funny. They would show something or do something in front of Remy, and he would go, "You could do that," and most of the times he meant, "But don't." But he would just stop it at that. You could do that.
Oh yeah,
That's not what
I
I did,
remember
but he didn't say that.
Well, that's
he did
very
that to his
wise.
wife.
Very wise. That's very wise. That's very
You know,
wise.
well, I mean, it was a. I mean, there was a I mean, listen, English wasn't his primary language. We didn't have Babel and Pilsner and all these other language things. He self-taught himself English, but his sentence structures were always still Filipino. Everything was a direct translation versus, like if I speak Tagalog, it is like word for word. Ty actually knows how to connect the words.
A little
A
bit.
Filipino would understand would understand my intent, but it would not come across the way it should, but they'd understand the point I was trying to make. And, unfortunately, professor quite often would just say, you know, you could well, it would be two parts. You could do that, but do this. So, oh, look, he said I could do this.
Right.
He was really, and he did it to me the one time. He goes, no, you could do that, Tim. I go, stop it. Don't you dare do that shit. Tell me what it's supposed to be. I do not want,
Right.
you can do that. No, what? Don't play that game with me. Oh, all right, do it this way. Okay,
Well,
thank
remember,
you.
he was also doing an outreach program, right? Because he's teaching, all these people that have done all these other martial arts and all different backgrounds: karate, taekwondo, aikido, kabuto, kung fu, right?
Sure.
And trying to connect with all of them. So they're going to all have their own ways of moving, right? You can't fix that. You can't change their character of movement from the get-go. You can, tweak things here and there or show them little techniques and get their interest. But how you're going to correct every little thing they do, you're going to lose them really, really fast. So, I think that you could do that was not only being nice, but I think it was,
yeah, you can't
economically.
be nowadays. Now you cannot be a technician. You cannot be a super technician. You know, that you're in the wrong field for that if you're going to teach FMA. I think it's just really up to you if you put the discipline and really want to learn. But it's like,
you
yeah,
got to do the work. Only you can.
yeah.
Right, let me get this caught up here, and then I think it's probably that time. But let's go through this. Okay, so Pollywog said he's the guy with web toes, so I don't think he's our other friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody once asked me name 2 structures that hold water. I thought a moment, damn well. Well, damn. Okay, very good. All right. I think in general, people have lost honor and fidelity in an organization, today's society. The word was your bond, and the actions were proven louder. You know, and I
give that guy a gold star. I mean, a real one, not a trophy one. Not everybody gets a trophy one.
And then, of course, everyone gets a trophy. And then I like it when someone tells me I've effed up, but also
you get better.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Coach me. There we go. Coach me, Jeff. Sorry. A quote I heard: "Give up the person you are to be the person you can become." That's a great one. I'm fine with a participation T-shirt pins. A little reminder to visit the building. You're fine, but trophies represent something. Medals to give a mug or a hat. So what I do is funny thing you should do with our tournaments. We actually give everybody a plaque as a souvenir, and I tell people it's your souvenir. But what happens is when you compete, you compete for the plate. So if you got first, like on a trophy, they would have those little silver or gold plates. So if you got first place in sparring, you put that on the plaque. Mm-hmm. If you got second place, whatever you got in, if you didn't get anything, you have the plaque. The plaque says that you were there. We see a lot of things in tournaments like, dude, man, that's awesome. I'd love to get one of those. Well, you have to win to get one of those. Well, so I've divided something that I can give everyone as a souvenir, but there is nothing that says anything. It's just a souvenir of the event, and then you get to compete for the.
I got a better one. You all know this one. What about the participation seminar certificates? You have completed over 200 hours.
Yep.
I'm not entirely against that.
Well, no, what I mean, so what happens is, and this is very common since the 80s, right? So when all the rock star, like when they're alive, right, they do participate, but then what happens, they will put it on their wall, and it's just part, but then this is what they would do, and I think to this day they might do it. They'll say like, "Oh, I'm a teacher." You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I have a folder full of those things. I never know what to do with them. But it doesn't make you. Yeah.
So I get it. That's fine. But just make sure, like, okay, guys, just let me know. This is a participate seminar. This does not mean you're an instructor. Okay.
I like giving those out because here's the course you took on this day. This talks about what you did, but there's nothing more to it than that.
And they participated themselves, right? So they came in, they took their time out of their day, they took time out of their pockets to pay to the teacher, which I totally get. That's fine. That's all agreeable, but
understand the difference.
Understand the difference. Right.
All right. But what if I have 20 of those now? I can start my own style.
There you go. I had a pointless practice trophy or plastic trophy given to me. Didn't ask for them. The 90s were rampant with these participation trophies because they were cheaper to make than a mug and a cup of tea. Yeah. Actually, a lot of times, so when I used to take the team out all the time for tournaments, there was like 2 or 3 of us that we would win the awards. And then we would find some kid in the crowd and give them, hey, do you mind? Here's a sword for you. I don't need trophies. If my kids go to a tournament, a lot of times I will, well, now with the local league, I don't do this because I'm too busy judging. But when we would go to different national tournaments and stuff, I would lead from the front, not behind. And I would compete with them. And a lot of times if it was medals, I'd bring the medals home because they were very easy. But a lot of times I was giving so much shit away because, at the end of the day, what do I need another dust collector for? So if it was something really cool and special, I would keep it for a while, and then I had a tendency of giving it to somebody else. Um, but I mean, or I would take a picture of it. There we go for posterity. Okay, give it away. Don't need it anymore. But even kids don't want pointless trophies. Yep, dirty boxing. I want my Tuhan to always tell me when I'm jacked up. Don't sugarcoat it. Okay, good. Savage. Criticism is a gift. To receive that gift,
Nice.
you must sacrifice the ego. There we go.
Nice.
And then I prefer participation beers after my seminars, Rob. Okay.
Wait. Who said that? Who's that?
Arbalao.
Oh, hey, what's up? I prefer the participants' beers after. Yes, sir.
We've done that a lot back in the day. So,
Yeah. You know what I was gonna do? I'm gonna do a get together for my student of mine here in Upland, and the theme is take it back to the '80s. So I'm gonna have everybody sit, wear high shorts or wear high socks and shoes, and train like a backwoods end. Just straight up, just train, hot and sweat.
Nice.
oh, then you have to have the mullet or the
We
big.
get that down, sure. But no, really, I was going with that theme. Giving thanks to the '80s. High shorts, high socks with the colors, and
You can't even get those socks with the 3 bands of color across the top of.
No, I don't think so. Man, I'm gonna have to find that then, because I'm over here downtown. I go Santee Village over here. I'll find something around that.
Cool.
So where are you at, Roberto? Because I used to, when I was in grade school, I was out, Huntington Beach.
Oh, so Huntington Beach, that's Orange County, that's east. I grew up in the South Bay. And where I was at, that was about maybe a 20, 30-minute drive. I'm in downtown LA now.
Also did Whittier, but I don't even remember Whittier.
That's still east, yeah. That's over there by Garden Grove, by there, Norwalk, like Downey.
And we're talking early 70s.
Oh yeah, it's still there. Nothing's changed. Yeah. See you there.
Although I've been back for work other times. Although now I don't work, so hey.
There you go. All right, cool. All right. Well, so Roberto, once again, what is your website or how they find you?
The website is just my Instagram. You can find me at Mandala, Mandala, Rob, R-O-B, and my last name Pagan, P-A-G-A-N. You can reach me there. My content's there. You can DM me through there, or you can contact me on Facebook, Rob Pagan. And yep, that's it. That's where you can find me guys. If you have any questions, just DM me, and I'll love to teach. And yeah, man, come through. It'll be fun.
You're in downtown LA, and your school's down there too.
Yeah, downtown LA. But for all Filipino martial arts to come train with me, please come train. It's okay. Awesome. I know it's hard because I might make you into a believer, and then you'll be like, oh, dang, man, 7 years, and all right, now I gotta be like, what do I do?
And you handle drop-ins, like if somebody's on travel too?
I'm sorry?
You handle drop-ins, like somebody's on travel or something?
I can do drop-ins. That's not a problem.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, sure,
cool.
Sure.
I really like that. I got to visit Burton in Hawaii there a couple times. I was there for work.
Oh yeah,
and dropped into the school and just said, "Hey, do you mind if I drop in?" And
yeah,
that's the way to run it, right? You get to see more, you get to participate, and you get to go.
I think the reason why I like drop-ins is because we're just OGs because we love to play.
Yep.
That's it. It's I said in the video. It's like if you're a guy that loves to play and like to play with toys and all that cool. I mean, come on, man. You can't get bored with that.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, listen. We'll wrap this up here. Stay on for a minute, because we'll usually do a quick debrief. And just this quick. First video I checked on yours, Dr. Tim. 1 second you said Filipino martial arts sucks. I thought to myself, this better be a trick title. I'm glad I didn't click off. You had me going. This is at least you show some common sense. You actually listened to the whole video. That's the first one. Then I did a second, and people still got it wrong. Yeah. And then and then I had to do a second one, and then people started sharing. The big thing was that show some empty hand combatives, please. I mean, let's prove that we don't need a stick or a knife to do what we do. And then people say, "You're trying to say that we can't do stuff?" I'm like, "Oh my god, no!" I'm saying my community is just as dumb as the jiu-jitsu community at times. So, gotta clean their ears out. But
you could have said the other thing is, Filipino martial arts is the worst martial arts in the world, except for all the others.
there you go.
Ooh, I like that one. That one's good.
All right. Well, listen,
That's putting salt on the wounds right there. I like that one.
you got me with that one too, Pollywog, Savage Berserker. Okay. So,
All right.
remember, okay, as a social influencer, martial artist first, social influencer later. All right.
Right.
You got to have that hook to get people to watch. So,
Right.
It's called, or, when everyone said these clickbait titles on YouTube, it got you to click on it. So watch the video.
And think about, people should remember what's it all for. So you're out there promoting FMA. Yes, you're doing clickbaity things, but it's in the service of your art. And if people, remember that and just keep a reasonable mindset about it, it won't be hard.
Now, I've had some people come after me on that. Actually, people I know, who allegedly were friends, and now it's like the cold shoulder. I'm like, you could have had a dialogue with me and talk to me about it, but whatever. That's okay. We know what you're like, so fine, be that way.
People gonna people.
Yeah, it's their loss, not mine, because I've done things for these people in the past because out of goodwill.
Well, you know what they say, right? No one doesn't owe you anything. Doesn't matter what goodwill you did. That's your voluntary. You did that. That's on you because of the goodness of your heart. But no one doesn't owe you jack shit. That's how it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. We will figure out what next week's show is because that's what we do. We kind of play it by ear. Actually, no. Dean is supposed to be on the show next week.
Oh, good.
Because we haven't done it in a while,
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. And then he's looking. Actually, looks like he's going to have Colin on his show for like up and comers. I'm like, oh, that's great.
Okay.
Okay. Read my last post. Okay. I can't study with Roberto because his hair is fuzzy. LOL.
Wow, that is so racist, dude.
Yeah.
What the hell, bro? God damn.
Matt's not a comedian, by the way.
Well, I'm not white enough, dude. Is that man?
I think it's that you have hair. He keeps harping on us and being.
Yeah. All right, so
I'm not messing with you. You know that, right? You I have the thickest skin ever, man. I love great jokes. I love good jokes.
No one's allowed to be on the show if they don't have a thick skin. We had a you gotta
learn to take the crossfires, man. You get in the crossfires. You gotta learn to take it.
People that couldn't handle it and really got twisted with some of the stuff on our shows. I'm like, all right, that was your one-off. You're done. And, I gotta cut you off because you don't like the style. If you can't hang in the style, this is what it's like. And he goes, oh no. And then here we go. My great-grandfather was from the Philippines. I never met him, but will his blood make my spikes stronger? Racist joke. Okay. All right. There we go. And then thanks, Roberto. Okay. So, and listen, this is good. We can, if you want to come on again in the future, we can do it again. I would advise a chair next time instead of standing the whole time.
It's okay. I don't mind standing. Trust me.
I thought you were in like stances the whole time.
Yeah, I knew what you were saying there, Pollywog, but yeah. So listen, everybody, we'll post the title for our show when we figure it out. But Dean will be on the show next week with us, so we'll have him on board.
And thanks for the participation, everybody. This is what makes it fun for everybody. I think
this one was a lot. I mean, we had
it's because Roberto was here.
Because it's Roberto.
Oh, it's okay. I appreciate you all.
All right. Well, as always, it's a pleasure. So thanks for tuning in. It's always a pleasure for me, my co-host, and of course our special guest to be here. And we'll see you all soon.